Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monsi and today I'm going to be going over my favorite reads of 2023. In total this year, I read 52 books in 52 weeks and I have hand selected my top 8. I was able to rank these from 1 to 8 and I'm gonna start at the bottom of the list. So in 8th place, we have Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. This book follows our main character, Elizabeth Sott, who is a highly intelligent, brilliant, determined chemist in the 1950s. She is constantly pursuing equality in the very male-dominated industry that she works in. The book starts out with her working in a lab as an assistant, and then it fasts forward to her working as a TV show host for a cooking show. And so we're kind of hopping back and forth between timelines to see how she got from point A to point B. There is a little bit of romance in the book, but it's very much a side plot, which I enjoyed. I felt many different emotions during this book. I felt a lot of outrage on behalf of women, but also a little bit of hope. I was also very impressed by our main character and her unwavering determination and drive despite everything she had going against her. I personally really also enjoyed the cooking bits. I love to see food descriptions in books, and it was just so interesting to see how she approached food preparation through this very scientific lens. I've seen a lot of people put this on their worst books of the year, but to each their own, because this one really did it for me. I was super engrossed in it from start to finish, and I recommend it to a lot of people. Coming in at number 7, we have One True Loves by none other than Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love the premise of this book. So basically what happens is we are following our main character, Emma, who marries her high school sweetheart, Jessie. They get married in their 20s and they have 9 beautiful years together. And then on their first wedding anniversary, Jessie goes missing in a helicopter crash, and just like that, Emma loses the love of her life. She's sort of picking up the pieces and she moves back home to live with her parents. And while there, she ends up reconnecting with one of her high school best friends, Sam. They start dating and they eventually get engaged, and she gets a second chance at love. That is until she receives a phone call from Jesse, who has been found to be alive, and he wants to pick up where they left off. And so the rest of the book is her just grappling with these two loves of her life and who she really wants to be with. My favorite part of the book was actually completely outside of the romances. It was really seeing Emma's growth and development and evolution over the course of the book. I just loved seeing where she ended up from where she started in the story. It was really, really beautiful. And then in terms of picking between the two men, I was really torn between who I wanted her to choose, but when she finally makes her decision, it made perfect sense to me, and I just loved the way that everything wrapped up. And I've thought about this book quite a bit since finishing it, and so for that reason alone, it has earned a spot on this list. And then we have the only rom-com story that I have ever rated 5 stars, and that's The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This was such a lighthearted, fun, entertaining read. The romance was very slow burn, which made it feel realistic to me, and just the way that they come together felt very believable. I also loved the setting of the book. It takes place on a cute little family-owned ranch in Texas, so that was pretty fun to read about. But the best part, the absolute best part about this book was that there was no miscommunication between our main 2 characters. And that's my least favorite part of every single other romance book that I've ever read. Chef's Kiss, it's on this list. Next up, we have Carrie Soto is Back again by Taylor Jenkins Reid. She shows up twice on this list and she deserves to be here. I'm a little bit biased because I grew up playing and watching tennis, and so my familiarity with the sport I think elevated this book and this story for me. But I also just generally love games and competition, so any book that centers its premise around something like that is going to really pique my interest. While Carrie, our main character, could come off as quite abrasive, I actually found her to be very inspiring. I admired her quite a bit. I was actually training for my first half marathon while reading this book, and I remember I was on a long run and I was getting really tired, and in the back of my mind I just kept thinking about Carrie Soto, and Carrie Soto was the one that pushed me and motivated me not only to finish my run but to finish it strong. Like, the book itself was so entertaining, but the inspiration that I got from it makes it one of my favorite ones of the year. In spot number 4, I think, we have Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. This was my favorite memoir that I read all year, and I have nothing but positive things to say about this book. This is about Trevor Noah's upbringing during apartheid times in South Africa. And if you don't know, Trevor Noah was technically born of an illegal relationship between his parents because his father was white and his mother was black. So that's kind of where the title Born a Crime comes into play. His parents' relationship was illegal at the time because it was interracial. Trevor was obviously evidence that they had been together. The book is told in a series of stories that are all simultaneously humorous and gut-wrenching, but insightful, but also sad. And the audiobooks is one of the best audiobooks that I've ever listened to. His narration is just top-notch. He brings so much life and energy and vibrancy and authenticity to his own story. And if you're a fan of Trevor Noah, you should definitely read it. And even if you're not a fan, you should definitely go read it. All right, we've made it to my top 3. So coming in 3rd place, we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is the first sci-fi book I ever read, and now I'm on a mission to read as many sci-fi books as I possibly can. This book starts off with our main character, Riley, I think is his name. I don't remember, but it starts out with our main character waking up and finding himself in space. He doesn't know who he is, and he also doesn't know why he's there or how he got there. In this book, we also do jump between different timelines. So we go back in time to see our main character's life on Earth and sort of what led him on this expedition that he's on. The science bits in this story felt pretty accessible to me, like they weren't too over my head to the point where I got really frustrated with it. And the last thing that I want to say about this book is that it had one of my absolute favorite fictional characters of all time. Of all time. I love this character. I would lay my life down for this character, and if you know, you know. Anything else I could say about this book would be a complete and total spoiler, so I'm going to zip it, but you should definitely read this book. It is such an adventure. I absolutely loved it. In my 2nd spot, I have Morning Star by Pierce Brown. This is the 3rd book in the Red Rising trilogy, which is about a dystopian society set in space. And again, because this is the 3rd book, there's only so much that I can say about it without giving away spoilers, so I'll say what I can. I read these 3 books really quickly, one after the other, and they just progressively got better and better with each one. Red Rising I thought was good. Golden Sun I thought was great, and then Morning Star I thought was just phenomenal. It was the first of the 3 books that had me fully invested from the very, very first page. It was the first book where I cared deeply for so many characters, and I was rooting for so many characters and just wanted to know more about them. There is so much drama and there are so many twists and turns that you couldn't possibly predict. And then I loved the way that everything wrapped up. Like, it was just the ultimate satisfying conclusion. I will say that with this trilogy, you do have to use a little bit more brain power than usual, but it is so worth it. All right, and then we have my number one, the creme de la creme, my favorite book of the year and one of my new favorite books of all time, and that is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. This book caught me off guard. It was my most surprising read of the year. I didn't think I was gonna like it because I didn't like another book by the same author, and I was so wrong, and I'm so glad that I was proven wrong because I'm gonna give authors second chances all the time now. So let me tell you a little bit about this book if you haven't read it. So it's centered around this mixed race family living in Ohio in the 60s and 70s, and we start off the book learning that one of the daughters in this family has died. Her name is Lydia. And so there is a mysterious element to this story because you're trying to figure out what happened to Lydia and how she died. But it is about so much more than that. It is a family drama. So you are going back in time and exploring the family dynamics and trying to get an understanding of what took place in this family that led to the demise of one of their members. And then you're also jumping forward and seeing how her death impacts each of the family members individually. We do get some backstory of the parents, and there's this great exploration of race identity and gender identity and how the parents' experiences with these different identities affects the way that they choose to parent their children, and how these expectations placed on their children impact their children and even impact the way that the children interact with each other. So there's a little bit of sibling dynamics at play as well. And this book just made me think like no other book has. It impacted me more than any other book that I read this year has, and I just think it is so phenomenal, so well written, so expertly told, and I would love for more people to read it so that I can discuss it with them in depth. And that wraps up my favorite books of the year. Let me know down below what your top 3 favorite books of the year were, or if you want to, you can just let me know what your number 1 favorite was. You do you. I'm always looking for more recommendations, and I do think I'm gonna make a video at some point that's based off of other people's favorite books to see how I feel about them. So this would provide me with some good material for that video in the future. I hope that you all have a great ending to your year, and I will see you in 2024. Bye!